and welcome back for another episode of the Noobie Dentist Weekly Mentorship Series. I'm Dr. Omid Azami. In this week's episode, I wanted to talk about habits and why it's important to first identify what habits are in your day-to-day routine, and two, how you can go about changing these habits to create better, more productive habits into what we do on a day-to-day basis. The concept of habits and what it entailed became clear to me after I read the book The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. In this book, he talks about the habit loop, which is the premise of the book. And what the habit loop is that we have cues in our day. When we wake up is a cue. When we eat breakfast, it's a cue. When we come home from work, it's a cue. And these cues have some certain automatic actions that they trigger in us. Whether we come home and we head straight to the fridge, or we wash our hands after we finish up with a procedure or finish up with a patient. All these things are triggers that have a certain action associated with them, and then we get the outcome or the reward. So the first thing that was really instrumental over this past year and a half for me was understanding this loop, and that everything that we essentially do on a day-to-day basis is a habit that can be broken down and reconstructed to become more positive or more efficient or healthier for that matter. For example, I used to come home from work and, we have the habit of you come home, you're stressed, you open the fridge and grab a beer and sit down in front of the TV. And that's something that is the cue. You come home and the reward is, you grab the beer and you enjoy the beer. And that's a way of dealing with what the, stressful workday was. Over time, as I recognize that this is a habit that can be broken, you start to take more conscious action to change these automatic actions. So we replace coming home and having a beer with maybe coming home and going out for a quick run, or speaking to our partner or a friend. And over time, that new action can replace the old automatic action. And before long, after an average, they say about 66 days or so, that new action becomes then the new routine that you can do in a more of an automatic way without having too much thought about it. So how does this relate to dentistry? Dentistry, a lot of what we do on a day-to-day basis is very procedural. Patient comes in, they're booked in for a cavity on upper first molar, and we have certain triggers and automatic actions that we do. We apply the topical, we get the LA ready, we give the anesthetic, and then we start prepping. So if you want to improve in any procedure, I think it's important to first identify what your habits are, why you do certain things in a certain sequence, why the rationale for doing topical before anesthetic, and actually think through these processes. Because as you get more ingrained in your ways and more ingrained in your habits, it becomes a little bit trickier to understand why certain things are done, because you've just been doing them the way you've been doing them for so long. So especially if you want to improve, if you want to incorporate a rubber dam or incorporate a new type of sectional matrix or a new bonding protocol, it's going to take some conscious action to break your old habits and to reinstall these new habits. Habits take a lot of effort. Habits take a lot of time to become automatic. And that's why it takes time to master any new procedure or any new skill that we're going to be taking on. So think about this on any procedure that you're doing. Within dentistry, if you're taking a tooth out, why do you do luxation first before you put the forceps on the tooth? If you're doing a restoration, why do you etch for 10 seconds? Why do you etch for 20 seconds? Is it something that you were just taught in dental school and have just kind of followed it through? But really take some time to understand what your habits are, your quirks, your actions, the sequence of events that you're doing within the workplace. And once you have that understanding that everything that we do is a habit, you can then take some conscious action and effort to improve those things. And this applies to our outside of dentistry life as well. If you want to improve in terms of health and fitness, what we eat, when we eat, how often we eat, all these things are habits that we've become so ingrained in us, and we just think that we can't change it. We just like sweets. We just like to have a beer after work. All these things are something that we've been taught and have had reinforced within our brain and within our automatic systems and our habits. So it's important to first identify that these things are in fact habits that can be changed, and we have the neuroplasticity to change these things. So I think the first step is awareness. The second step is conscious decision to change. And third step is sticking with it. Most habits, as they say in The Power of Habit or in Atomic Habits with James Clear, 66 days seems to be a magical time for conscious action that's associated with a cue to then become more automatic, that we can kind of do it without thinking about. So take some time, look at your full day. When you wake up, what's your morning routine? What are your habits? Do you just wake up and start eating right away? Or do you have some sort of ritual where you do a bit of stretching or have a cup of coffee or have a journal that you write down in? And try and incorporate new things into this routine, and then you can start to develop some really healthy habits that over time can make a big difference into your personal growth, your growth as a clinician, and your overall health and well-being. That's it for this week. I wanted to leave you with this challenge. If you are in the habit of watching these videos now or listening to the Noobie Dentist podcast, first of all, thank you for having such a positive habit. And two, it would mean a lot to me if you're watching this on YouTube, if you can subscribe and like the video so the YouTube algorithms can kind of help the podcast, the videos get a little bit more views and get a bit more traction. As always, thank you so much for supporting the podcast and now the YouTube channel. I look forward to bringing you more great content over the next few weeks.
Thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Noobie Dentist podcast. Please be sure to subscribe and head over to iTunes and give the show a 5-star rating. For all show notes and to access all previous episodes, head over to www.noobiedentist.com. Have a great day.